USA, where you can learn how to make better decisions and more money copy trading. I'm Gavin Macaulay, my name and username on eToro. Links to everything, including Discord and Facebook groups, are in the link tree in the show notes. In today's episode, we talk to an American popular investor and someone who spent many years on the inside at eToro. Here we go. Season 2, Episode 6 of Copytraders Club, and possibly Episode 1 of the American spin-off podcast. So, a warm welcome to any new listeners from the US, or indeed anywhere. On this podcast, my aim as an eToro enthusiast and copy trader is to demystify this new branch of investing called copy trading. Understand what the pitfalls are and the best practices, and how ultimately to succeed as a copy trader. Specifically, on Chats with Popular Investors, we seek to get into their mind and try to answer the questions you might have about copying them. As is customary, we sent a limousine to pick up today's guest, Mati Greenspan, and it has made its way up the sweeping driveway of the splendid Copytraders Clubhouse. Here he comes. Mati, hello. Welcome to Copytraders Club.
How's it going?
It's going very well. All the better for having you here. As you know, you've got a series of quickfire questions to answer in order to gain admittance to the hallowed inner sanctum of the Copytraders Clubhouse. You ready?
All right, shoot.
Username on eToro.
QE4Everyone.
Date you joined eToro.
The date I joined eToro, July 2012.
Date you became a popular investor.
Oh, I don't know the date offhand. It must have been late 2019.
Year of birth.
1983.
Place of residence.
Ariel, Israel.
Profession.
Serial entrepreneur and investor.
Briefly state what you aim to achieve on eToro.
To convey some of my portfolio that is public and to share my sweet gains with the entire world.
Name one of your investing heroes.
Oh boy, I like Mohammed El-Arian. He's a really cool guy.
Name one of your favorite investing books.
The New Market Wizards.
That completes the formalities. Let's proceed into our VIP section here at the Clubhouse, the splendid Copytraders Lounge.
We made it.
Mati Greenspan.
Was a piece of cake, Gavin. Piece of cake.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you got through it. Mati Greenspan, aka QE4Everyone. Are you ready for this magical transition?
Let's do it, man. I'm ready.
Okay, Mati, so here we are now, seated on these magnificent sofas in the Copytraders Lounge. You may not know this, but for a PI to make it into this VIP area is something of a milestone for them in their career, a much sought-after feather in their cap. Are you impressed with this salubrious setting?
Oh boy, this looks amazing. It's almost like my own living room.
Almost. Well, you've obviously got a man of good taste then. Yeah, so I appreciate that Copytraders Club may not yet be a household name among eToro USA users, but when it does, you can always point to being the first.
Sure. Okay. I will keep that on my resume.
Okay, so Mati, with guests like you who have a big story, I like to do a little summary at the start so we can skip over the stuff that other people have spoken to you about and we can focus more on the copy trading side of things.
Okay.
So do you mind if I now reduce your life story into a few bullet points?
Do what you gotta, man.
So your grandfather is a self-made billionaire. Greenspan Realty in California, I think.
That is incorrect. The first part is correct. Greenspan is not my grandfather's last name. My grandfather on my mom's side. So
Faulty research, shocker.
It's all good. It's not public information, and we'll keep it that way for now.
Okay. Growing up in Israel, Mati went to music school and had dreams of a musician's lifestyle. Like many, his dreams were crushed by his wife, who convinced him it was time to do something more practical, which seems to have worked out quite well, so kudos to her.
Yeah.
Mati has been in the fintech space since 2008, including at eToro from 2012 to 2019, working as senior market analyst, and is now founder and CEO of Quantum Economics. Earned his first Bitcoin in 2013 when Yoni told eToro staff he would pay them one of these new things called a Bitcoin for creating a Bitcoin address, and Mati said, "I'll do it." The price was then about $30. And as something of an authority in the crypto world, Mati's been interviewed on YouTube 1,000 times.
Have you counted?
And in many of those is sporting a very fetching bow tie and or baseball cap.
Excuse the relaxed attire for today. I figured since we're in this lovely lounge, we might as well, kick our feet up. Yeah.
Yes, no bow tie today. So any corrections or clarifications needed there apart from the one already mentioned?
That's all good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So where did I first hear about you? I first heard your name mentioned by Jaynemesis in one of the earliest episodes of this podcast. He recommended I talk to you. I believe you met in Israel a lifetime ago in eToro terms.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I like Jay.
And he was invited over for some sort of shindig in Israel.
I don't recall. Yeah, he was invited over to Israel. I think it was to kind of meet the people in the office, maybe as a kind of a perk for doing such a great job, and to attend some sort of Copytrader event. I don't remember the details of his visit. I just remember the time that we spent together personally.
Did you gain much wisdom from him back in the day about crypto? Because you've become something of a go-to guy for crypto analysis, but everyone started somewhere. So back then, were you much of an enthusiast?
I would say that I was an enthusiast about Bitcoin since before it was ever invented. I mean, I've always been kind of a staunch libertarian, and you've probably seen that clip of Milton Friedman, their famous economist who predicted Bitcoin in late 90s. And I was very much privy to those conversations at that time as well. As soon as Yoni first told me about Bitcoin, I mean, for me, it was like I understood immediately that this is the future of money. There was no question in my mind as to what was going to happen next. It was just a matter of how long it would take, given that other people around me weren't quite as enthusiastic as I was.
Okay, well, fantastic. But listen, this chat's going to be a little bit different from the usual interviews I've seen you doing, since we're all about copy trading here, and I'm not really a dyed-in-the-wool crypto enthusiast.
Okay.
Seeking to pick up pearls of wisdom, although feel free to scatter them liberally if you wish.
All good.
But you make a great guest on this podcast for a number of reasons. Number one, you're ex-eToro, so we'll explore your time there and your views on the platform's story and future. Number two, you're a PI on eToro USA, the first such PI we've welcomed here to the Copytraders Clubhouse. Others may follow. I plan to have others on later in the season. But as the first, we can't wait to hear your views on the first few footsteps eToro is taking in that huge market and how far they might go. And third, as a PI in the US, we want to talk to you about your approach there and what you've learned about copy trading in the US from that perspective. How does that all sound?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Okay, tell us about your history with eToro.
I was recruited to eToro in 2012. I actually met them previously when I was working in Ava FX. A couple of guys from eToro came by looking to demo eToro's platform for Ava FX users. meaning they'd come out with a very revolutionary gamified trading platform, and they weren't sure how to monetize it. They were bringing it to their customers directly, but they were looking for a larger audience, which AvaFX had. And AvaFX is notorious for renting out trading platforms. So it seemed like a good fit. I was actually assigned to call several of the first few leads that came through for the eToro platform, and people really liked it. I remember the feedbacks I got were quite outstanding. But that deal ended up falling through. I then went to interview for eToro, and the conversation trailed off that I went to a different job for about a year, and then I came back to eToro. Even then, it was kind of a fight to get me in the door. I had a better offer, monetarily on the table, but this just seemed like a faster growing company and a wiser career move, and it turned out to be quite correct there.
So you know the Asia brothers very well and have done for many years?
Correct, yeah.
So you're very much part of the whole eToro growth story. You're also an author of The Complete Guide to FinTech and Investing, which I went to download over the weekend from eToro, but got an Oops 404 page from the link.
Uh-oh. I'll just have to check into that.
So, of course, I was looking forward to reading that cover to cover yesterday, but I was denied.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'll check in on it. I don't know. Maybe you can send me where you found the link for it.
So now eToro's in the States. How exciting is that? What are your expectations for eToro USA?
That's pretty significant. USA presence has always been a dream of eToro. I mean, since the very early days, it's extremely difficult walnut to crack, particularly because incumbent financial institutions make it very difficult for new financial institutions to break ground in the United States. But I'm very glad to see that they were finally able to do it, and to have some, some small part that I was able to play in that. And I think that it's an incredible source of user growth. I think it's an incredible market fit because, Americans are lazy and they don't necessarily want to learn how to trade. They'd rather just let somebody else do it for them. So that's kind of like a real, I think it's a real unique product fit for them.
I just want to say the views expressed by guests on this podcast do not reflect the host's views. And welcome to all our new American listeners.
I'm American, so I'm allowed to criticize Americans.
Okay.
It's okay.
Fair enough. All right. But the thing about it is, in the US, users can buy and sell stocks and crypto, but no ETFs, commodities, currencies, etc. Have you any idea if and when those other asset classes are coming?
Yeah, that was a big deal for me in the beginning when I first opened my account with eToro. It was like a few days after I left the company. And it was at that point only a crypto platform in the United States. And I really wanted to invest in stocks and have a diversified portfolio. Now that they've added the option, I got to be straight. I haven't added any stocks to my portfolio yet. I haven't had an urge to invest in anything other than crypto, probably more than a year. And even with the recent geopolitical turmoil in Europe, I understood that volatility was coming heavily for things like the Russian ruble and crude oil and wheat futures. And I have platforms that I like to trade those things on, or I did. But for some reason, it just didn't excite me as much as, the crypto market and some of the opportunities we're seeing there.
Well, can I ask, PIs in the States can only invest in crypto, right? They can't invest in stocks and be copied. Is that correct?
I actually don't know the rules offhand. I remember something like that, but I do see that I have the ability in my account to buy stocks. I believe that they told me that I'm allowed to, and I get notifications about stocks on my phone, so I'm not exactly sure where we stand with that.
Okay.
I haven't clarified since, again, I haven't had the urge to participate in those markets, speculating on, the price of, crude oil, whether it'll go up or go down. I think that's largely gambling, and especially, as a U.S. resident, reporting my taxes in the United States. Closing positions is actually a taxable event, so it makes trading far less attractive, and it forces people to adopt a more long-term outlook and a long-term strategy, and which I think is for the better, honestly, because in my experience watching thousands of clients come from zero to hero, or or the opposite in many cases, those who have a longer term outlook and a longer term strategy tend to perform consistently better.
Okay. I think the issue of whether stocks can be purchased by PIs and then copied by people is really going to be a key game changer in the States.
I believe so too.
Once that builds up, because at the moment, there's a lot of people still don't want to have anything to do with crypto. And when it comes to copy trading, I guess you're looking for people who want to participate, but don't have the confidence to do it themselves.
Any particular view, you're right. They don't care if it's crypto or crude oil. They just want to see some percentage in their account. Yeah, I agree. And multi-asset is a key for portfolios, even though I'm particularly not interested at this time. Having many different asset classes in your portfolio is extremely helpful from a portfolio management stance.
Do you think eToro USA is going to be something of a walled garden with only US on US copying allowed?
I hope not. I understood from eToro devs that there are challenges, but that they hope to overcome them, and that they do want to have Americans copied by others and Americans copying others. I think that there may be some regulatory challenges, but honestly, that's not for me to say or to speculate. That's eToro's job. They know it very well. They've managed to expand in many different asset classes in many different regions, and I think that they'll continue to make the right decisions, where that comes.
So it's really a step-by-step process as opposed to an overnight arrival in the promised land.
I've seen them do it before when they introduce a new region. Sometimes there are, specific assets that can be, or payment methods that can be walled off as needed. And in this case, it's very clear that the United States is going to be a bit more difficult to introduce CopyTrader, allowing people to copy people from other places in the world. I hope that they'll get over that eventually, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to be, make it or break it point for eToro.
In the event of full eToro USA copy trading, can you imagine these huge YouTubers in the States getting involved? Meet Kevin and Andre Zick, and those guys are indicative of how huge those finance YouTubers can become. Can you see them being replaced by others who seek to make money for their fans rather than off their fans?
Yeah, that is specifically, and then this is always the thing that I've loved about eToro is that, there's people out there claiming that they're the best traders in the world and they don't actually show their track record. So, they'll, publish the winners or emphasize the winners, but they're not going to say how much money they bet on each trade, right? Or something like that. There's always some shtick that they can hide their losses, and eToro is the only platform that holds them accountable to their actual performance, and people can actually see, oh yes, well, you did perform terribly last year, and then they can actually answer for that, and so those YouTubers, and I've seen incredible frauds on on various social media platforms where people are recommending a buy position at the highs and recommending a sell position at the lows. But somehow, because they're giving such wonderful information, they are able to amass many followers across social media. It's a bit silly, but I suppose that's kind of how the world works a bit.
Yeah, well, hopefully the eToro can help address that if it becomes big.
100%, 100%.
And the pressure is on them to reveal their portfolios and be real, keep it real.
Exactly. It is, but, at the other hand, you got to remember that the new coming people in the market don't always know which tools are available and which tools are not, and how to spot a fraud or how to spot somebody who's just, covering their tracks or whatever. They don't necessarily know, and that's how these people get so successful in the beginning.
Okay, Mati, let's have a question from the art of people. Can you give me a number between 1 and 10?
You want me to tell you a number between 1 and 10?
Yes, please.
7.
If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing and why?
Oh, geez. I have no idea. I might be with my brothers in California, running the family business.
And playing music on Friday nights in clubs and pubs?
Possibly, yeah.
What kind of music do you play?
I don't play much music anymore. These days, it's mostly, my repertoire is mostly Disney stuff. I got kids.
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Copytraders Club.
Copytraders Club.
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy?
Do you copy? Copytraders Club.
Copytraders Club.
Can you open your profile on eToro? Just read for the listener the first 2 paragraphs of your bio, please.
This is the personal trading account of Mati Greenspan, the world-renowned crypto investor and entrepreneur and founder of Quantum Economics. Mati is also the co-author of the Complete Guide to FinTech Investing as a licensed portfolio manager in the European Union and former senior market analyst right here at eToro.
Okay, 2 quick points to say about that. Number 1, slightly strange that it's written in the third person. Most people make it like, about me, I invest in XYZ. And indeed, from a marketing perspective, there's something to be said for using the second person. You can expect this if you copy me. But the larger point is, as I said before, you're quite a big name in your world. Is there a risk in you having a public profile and leaving yourself open to all the criticism that can occur on the eToro platform? As they say in the States, you got a lot of balls.
Yes, the risks certainly outweigh the benefits from what I can see. Meaning that if I was a terrible trader, then people would be able to then point at me and laugh.
So why do it?
Luckily, I am not a terrible trader. I was able to, very clearly, we can pop over the stats tab and see that I was able to make 101% for 2020 and then 94% for 2021.
Sure.
I saw Bloomberg hailing a trader who made 20% last year as a genius. So I think the results kind of speak for themselves, but I don't believe that, nobody's about to set up a statue in my name or anything like that because of these wonderful results. And it is a thankless job because there are people who managed to get, 105% in 2020. And, they will be obviously bigger names on the platform because that's how numbers work, is that the biggest number generally tends to float to the top. So, yeah, I would say that there are risks involved and rewards, but that's how investing works.
Speaking of risk, I always ask PIs when I'm talking to them, how do they feel about their risk score? But in the States, I see it's all 7s and 8s, basically, because they're all invested in crypto.
Yes, my risk score was a bit too high for a while. My dad wanted to copy me at one point, and he couldn't. And he wrote a ticket, and they're like, well, sorry, you can't copy your son because his risk is too high. I was a bit upset about that because at the time they were only allowing me to trade in crypto and then telling me that my risk score was too high because I was invested only in crypto. And then they were like telling me that, well, if you study the standard deviation of each cryptocurrency and go for the, and diversify your portfolio sufficiently, like, I don't have time for all that, man, And then what if that one cryptocurrency moves and gets more volatile? His standard deviation goes up, the risk goes up, the risk score goes up. I don't have visibility on which asset is going to influence my risk score or not risk score, and I don't have the time to do the math every single day. I've got, several other businesses and employees to look after. I really do the eToro portfolio thing because it's easy for me to do on the side, to have an investment that's going on where people can actually actively see which coins I'm interested in and copy that without me having to, onboard them or assist them with their trades or anything like that. There's always, trade-offs, but I think that this is the correct attitude to have. Even if I would spend hours on the platform, the amount of compensation that I would receive for that would not be nearly sufficient to make it worthwhile.
Okay, speaking of copiers, I always like to describe the Copier Graph and give a little detail. Assets under management between 300K and $1 million. Copier numbers as of the time of recording, 389. Now, the Copier Graph, yours is a bit of a puzzle. So it starts off as sort of a couple of jagged peaks and then 3 quite steep drops.
Yeah.
And then it sort of flatlines. So what's going on with that?
I think that in the beginning, eToro promoted my account a lot. And then I think that, the markets do go up and they go down. So people tend to come into the markets while they're going up, and they tend to leave the markets while they're going down. So while I started at eToro, we were in the middle of a bull market, and my portfolio was being promoted by eToro, meaning that new customers were being diverted to my page.
Mm-hmm.
And when the markets declined, they were not promoting my account as much, and people naturally left the markets when they saw some losses. I'm completely fine with that.
Presumably there's also many more PIs now, so much more choice than the very start.
Yes, I suppose so. That's fine. I mean, from my perspective, I mean, I promote this account through my newsletter on a daily basis and occasionally on Twitter. But I believe that the number one thing that influences that copier line is the amount of love and attention I'm receiving from my former colleagues at eToro.
So you just mentioned your newsletter there. Is that your chief means of communication with your copiers?
It is, yeah. It's free of charge at quantumeconomics.io. The newsletter is something that actually originated in eToro. I was writing a daily newsletter there, and people really liked it. So I wanted to preserve that means of communication for people going forward. At the time, I was writing it myself, 5 days a week. But now that I have, many analysts on the team, some of whom are no less knowledgeable or talented than myself, because I value my time a lot more these days. I've moved down to 2 days a week, which is Monday and Thursday. I'm writing it personally. The rest of the week is covered by other analysts on our team. And that gives me, more than enough, I believe, with 2 updates a week to, keep everybody updated about, where my portfolio stands and what I'm doing, especially since I'm not, actively trading on a day-to-day basis anyways. It's enough to, making small adjustments every few months. It's really more than enough to keep everybody updated on what's happening in the markets and what I'm doing in my portfolio.
So just to be clear, your portfolio on eToro is a result of a group effort from your team at Quantum Economics?
No, the eToro portfolio is a result of only me.
Okay.
The newsletter itself is a result of collaborative effort of my company, Quantum Economics.
And that's more of a macro view of the situation.
That's right. Each analyst on our team has a very specific focus that they're looking at in the market. So, one is going to look at, macro events. One is going to look at, NFTs or specific niche areas of blockchain. One of them is going to look at Bitcoin specifically. We have dedicated analysts for things like DeFi, stable coins, central bank digital currencies. So in 2013, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, were so small that it was enough to put Bitcoin on your watch list, right? And you say, okay, analyze it right alongside, gold and crude oil. But these days, it's grown into such a diverse, multifaceted market that it really does take a lot of people to keep on top of it. And that's kind of how we divide it is into subjects.
Okay, let's talk about that diverse market now when we look at your portfolio. See what conclusions we can draw from that. You're definitely not a Bitcoin maximalist. I've heard you decrying maximalists in videos as insecure.
Yes, sure, I do. They're gone, though. Gavin, I was right. I mean, look, where are the maximalists today? They're not nearly the force that they were at that time.
Sure.
At that time, they were bullying people and yelling, and I think that by now they've been pushed to an underground movement. I feel fully vindicated.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I run my eye down your portfolio, I get to position 6 before I see Bitcoin.
I believe that Bitcoin was one of the first things that entered this portfolio. So if you look at the all positions and sort by date, you probably see the first few positions were Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yes, but in terms of position size currently.
Right. So that's the funny thing about position size. So you'll see Mana as number 2. I think it was probably number 1 for a while, but that's not because I invested the most money in Mana. It's because of the gains. Right. Mm-hmm. I started with a minority position in Mana. And then, Mark Zuckerberg came and pumped the metaverse, and I didn't take any profits, so it's still there, right at the top of my portfolio, and I don't mind it as such because I believe that it's a good one to hold on to, and I don't feel like paying taxes when I take the gains.
Well, let me just explain for the listener what the main positions are in the invested column. Ethereum over 25%, Mana over 18%. Litecoin, 14%, Matic, 11%, Doge, 7.5%, and Bitcoin, 6%. So that throws up a few questions. First would be the desync issue. Now, given your hands-off approach with tinkering, it's perhaps unsurprising to see there are some positions showing significant desync between the invested column and the value column.
Okay. What is desync? What do you mean by that?
Well, when someone copies you, they get the positions in the invested column ratio, not the value column. So although they're copying you, they're not getting exactly what you have. You know what I mean?
No, I don't understand. Ooh.
If you go to your portfolio,
okay,
and you see all your positions and the columns, I don't know what column headings you see, but there's one called invested and one called value. When someone copies you and they copy you for $1,000, that $1,000 is divided according to the invested column proportions. So they will have, on day one of their copy of you, they will have 18.72% of their portfolio is in Mana, whereas yours is 44%.
Right. Well, that's because of the gains. So the invested shows how much I've actually invested, and the value shows the current value.
Yeah, and because when someone copies you, they get the invested column rather than the value. It means going forward, you're in slightly different positions, or sometimes largely different positions.
Sure. Okay. Well, there isn't much I think I can do about that, short of closing everything and opening it up again.
Well, it's the perennial problem for PIs is trimming their position so they don't go out of desync. Or if things get so much out of desync, they close everything and reopen everything to make sure that the copiers and they have the same portfolio.
Yeah, I want to be pretty clear for my copiers. I don't actually think that it's a bad thing. Honestly, if you're getting 18% of your portfolio in men, I think that's probably preferable than getting, what is it, 40%? Sure,
that can be the case.
I think that this is probably working in your favor, honestly, that desync that you're talking about. But also, I'm managing significant money on eToro, and I don't feel like making decisions based on how the copy trader function works. My investment decisions need to be based on what's in my best interest, and it's eToro's job to then figure out how to convey that to the people who are copying me.
Okay, you seem to be expecting the flippening on the basis that Bitcoin has had its job to do, but looking into the future, Ethereum has a seat at the table where Bitcoin might not have, such as the metaverse. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, the flippening refers to market cap, right? And market cap is not exactly the best measure for, how cryptocurrencies should be valued. I believe in the power of Bitcoin and the power of blockchain. And I believe that all of those things are working in tandem to a point where, if we're looking for, in investments, you're better off usually, the return on the investment is better off when you're getting into something that's not kind of already made it. I see Bitcoin as something that's already made it. I see it as much less risk, but that also comes with much less reward. And since I'm looking for the reward part, I'm going to push a bit more out into the risk section, and I'm fine with, if that turns out to, into some losses, which are bigger than, I would be getting otherwise, that's fine, because it also at the end of the day turns out to bigger gains.
So we're running out of time here, Mati. So just tell us quickly, who should copy you?
Anybody who's in the United States and feels like they want to be on top of what I'm doing and which coins I'm picking for my portfolio. Anybody who's not sure of how to navigate the crypto market and feels like they need a bit of help is welcome always to come and ask questions, and I'm happy to assist people where needed.
And finally, what question do you wish I would have asked you?
You can ask whatever you like, man. I'm a real open book, so no, I don't have any favorites or least favorite questions. Just take them as they come.
Okay, thank you so much, Mati. It's been wonderful to have you. Thank you for giving us your time.
All good.
Take it easy.
Thank you.
Mati Greenspan there, our first ever guest from the US, and certainly not our last. As eToro spreads its wings in that country, will we have more eToro stars of various stripes on to share their perspectives from the USA? Yeah, you better believe it. That's all from me. See you on Discord and Facebook. Until next time we meet at Copytraders Club, I wish you many happy returns. Obviously, anything you hear in this podcast is for entertainment only, not financial advice. Do your own research. This is just generic chit-chat. We don't know your individual circumstances, etc., and so forth.